Welcome back, everybody. So great to have you with us. We're going to have a lot of fun today. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about the single most important metric that you need to be tracking in real estate. And this metric is something that will help you achieve big goals and dreams. So first of all, quick review. What have we done so far? We've talked about many lead generating systems with people you know, with people you don't know. We've talked about the concept of influence, okay, or how to sell people. So influence is obviously that's what sales is. Most grifted salespeople have the ability to influence people. We've talked about lead follow-up, how to convert them to appointments. We've talked about buyer and seller mastery. You watch some great role plays of presentations. So next, what I want to do is I want to think about how do we increase your effectiveness? Because if you remember, I've said once or twice before that the secret to productivity, come on, let's face it, everybody, it's easy to be busy, hard to be productive. But the secret to productivity is to be able to produce the greatest results with the least amount of time, money, and energy spent. So how do we take our big goals, okay, which could be an income goal for you, and how do we break it down into something very simple that you could track every week that would help you achieve that big goal? So let me ask you this question. If I would say to you, okay, your goal is $100,000, and I said to you, what should you track? What one thing should you track every single week so you can achieve that goal? What would it be? Now, many people will say, okay, well, how many people I talked to, how many leads that came in, right? You know, maybe did I get a listing? Did I get a buyer? Did I get a sale? But what is the one thing? Not a whole bunch of things. The one thing, I call it the primary goal. There's a bunch of secondary goals, but what's the primary goal? Well, it would be appointments. See, I believe the common denominator for all real estate agents should be tracking how many appointments do you need to go on every single week to achieve your big goal. Because sometimes you look at a goal of 100, 200, 300, a million, whatever the number is, and you look at it and you say, that's such a big number. I have no idea how I'm going to achieve it. But if I could back that out for you and sort of reverse engineer that number, and if I could say, all you have to do every week is this, and if you do that every single week, you're going to achieve that big goal. We don't need to worry about the big goal anymore. What we want to do is we just want to track that one number. Now, in your workbook, there is something called Goal Setting Simplified. Now, Goal Setting Simplified is, a formula that we have created to back everything down to what that one number will be. So let's go through this together. So if you look at the top, it says annual income, $100,000. So there's the goal. Now that could be anything. You can put your goal in there when you download this, right? You can do this yourself, this exercise yourself. But let's go down to the bottom section where it says efficiencies and benchmarks. Now, you notice down there, it said percentage of listing ends to total sales. So this agent, the year before, did 30% of their business come from the listing side of the business, which means the next one, percentage of buyer ends of total sales, 70% came from buyer ends. Now, let me stop there for a moment. If you want to become more efficient, what change would you try to make there? Well, if you spend more time with buyers than you do with sellers, to produce a similar result, hopefully, obviously you'd want to have a higher percentage coming from sellers, and that would increase your efficiency, okay? Now, let's go to the next one, percentage of listings sold. So this particular agent in the past year sold 80% of all the listings that they had taken. Now, the next one says percentage of listings taken on appointments. So what percentage of the listings are they taking, okay, when they go on appointments? Well, they're getting 70%. For every 10 listing appointments, they're getting 7 listings. These are all called efficiencies, okay? And then it says number of buyer trips per sale. So they actually will take somebody out 6 times before they actually buy a house. Average commission is $10,000, you can see, and the number of weeks that they worked the year before was 48. Now, if I put all of those numbers in, okay, to this spreadsheet that we have created, what it does, it calculates everything in the middle. So let's go up. So the total ends, for us to make $100,000, we'd have to do 10 ends because the average commission is what? It's $10,000. So 10,000 times 10 gives $100,000. Now, listing sales, we would have to have 3 listing sales because what percentage of our business is coming from listings? 30%, which means we have to have 7 buyer sales, which is the next number, right? And that gets us to our 10 sales. That means listing contracts signed. That means we're going to have to sign 4 listing contracts, okay? Because what percentage of those are actually going to sell? I should say 4 listing contracts, because what percentage are actually going to sell is going to be 80%. So that's going to give us right around those 3 listing sales. Then it says listing appointments done. We're going to have to go on 5 listing appointments because we go on 5 listing appointments, right? Generally, we're going to sign 4 based on our efficiency. And if we sign 4, we're going to sell roughly 3. Do you see where I'm going with this? And then if we move down, it said the number of buyer trips. That means we got to take buyers out 42 times over the course of a year. Well, if we have to go on 5 listing appointments, take buyers out 42 times, that means we have to do 47 appointments over the course of a year. And how many weeks are we working? We're working what? 48 weeks, which means every week, every single week, we got to do one of 2 things. What is it? Every week, we got to take out somebody and show them property, or we got to be on a listing appointment. Do you see how that all works? So the power of this is what I call a narrow focus, a single-minded focus. So imagine this. Every Monday you go to the office, and all you have to think about Monday, okay, is how am I going to get 1 appointment this week? Because based on the efficiencies I just showed you, that means we'll hit our goal of $100,000. Now, as an organization, what we would be doing with you, we would be looking at your efficiencies and we would say, how do we improve? In other words, how do we get you to 50% sellers and 50% buyers? How do we get you to selling 90% of your listings instead of 80%? How do we get you to 85% conversion instead of 80%? And more importantly, how do we get you down to only taking them out twice or 3 times instead of 6? How do we get your average commission to maybe $12,000 instead of 10? And how can we get you maybe 10 weeks off a year instead of 4? And if we change those numbers, if we change those efficiencies at the bottom, what changes? The weekly appointment number. That's what starts to change. If we change your goal or any of the bottom numbers, it changes the weekly appointment. So the whole idea here is what we want to do is we want to plug in our numbers. Now, all of you can do this because you can go to the website and you can download this and then you can put in your own numbers and discover, okay, how many appointments you need to do every week. However, what I really want you to look at is your efficiencies, and they're roughly based on what you did last year. You might not know them exactly, but you can go back through your appointment book or your calendar and start to figure this stuff out. And all of a sudden, you start to understand what you're doing in your business. And then you say, where do I need to start making adjustments so that I can become more productive? But the power in this is having that, okay, single-minded focus that every Monday when I go to work, I know my objective is to get myself on whatever that number is, 1 appointments or 2 appointments a week. And let's say I get that done by Thursday. Maybe I say, okay, I'm going to chill on Friday, just look after what I got to look after. But if I don't have it done by Thursday or Friday, what do I maybe need to do? Probably got to do it over the weekend because I still got to get it done, or I got to do more the next week. Are y'all with me? So this is the single most important metric you need to be counting, okay, and tracking on a regular basis. And that metric is always going to be appointments. Doesn't matter whether you got a team or if you're an individual agent, you've been in for 10 years, you've been in for 1 year, you want to make 1.5 million, you want to make $75,000. That is the one metric we track with all of our coaching clients. And then we can decide how to generate the leads to get that appointment. Time to move into the 5 components of a great plan. So component number 1 is we need to have goals, obviously, but we also need to have outcomes. Well, we got to look at where did our business come from last year and where could we do a little better? And this is called, the Source Business Tracker worksheet. Now you can download this on the website, but it's in your workbook and here's what it looks like. So here's my recommendation. I want you to go back and look at the last 12 months of your business, okay? Or you might just choose last year. And what I want you to do is I want you to look at where did your business come from? What was the source of your business? So referrals from your database, how many did you get? Maybe you got 2. Repeat clients, how many did you get? Maybe you got 2. Did you get any from agent networking, strategic alliances, events, open houses, door knocking? You know, it goes down the whole thing. And I want you to write in where did all of your business come from, total up the ends, total up the commission, and then it'll give you the average commission. Divide the ends into the gross commission. Then what you're going to do, the next step in the plan, is you're going to look at that and you're going to say, well, you know, I did 5 referrals from database last year. You want to know something? My goal moving forward is I want to get that to 7. You know, I did 5 repeat. I want to get that to 7, right? You know, maybe agent referrals, I did 2. Oh, that'll probably be the same. That'll be 2. And figure out, remember I said if you grow your business by how much, it will double every 3 years. If you grow your business by 26%, your business doubles every 3 years. But what we want to do is decide where are we going to increase our deals from, and that becomes where we're going to spend the money on marketing. So what I want you to do is I want you to download, okay, this business planning simplified worksheet. And then what I want you to do is I want you to put in there, go back and source all of your business. Now, here's what's interesting. When I ask agents, where exactly did all of your business come from? Do you think most people know that number? Actually, what's interesting, when I ask agents, how many transactions did you do last year? Do you think most people know that number? When I ask agents, how many listing appointments did you go on last year? Do you think most people know that number? So when we track our past, everybody, we can better predict our future. But not only can we better predict our future, now we have the ability to make adjustments. And this is business building intelligence. That's what we're doing now. We're not just going out and just doing it and doing it and doing it every day. No, we're being strategic in exactly how we're going to take our business to the next level. Component number 2 is you need to have a budget. Oh, did I say budget? Nobody likes a budget. Well, let's call it a forecast. See, the challenge when I say budget, a lot of people, they think it's restraining, right? It's like putting handcuffs on. Oh, we can't have any fun. We can't spend any money. No, it's the opposite. Hopefully you're going to spend more and you're going to make more. So let me give you an idea on the personal side before I move into the business side. Well, probably 10 or 12 years ago, my wife and I, we sat down and here's what we decided. We said, how much would it cost us to live the perfect year? I mean, to do everything we want to do in a year. You know, to spend the money we want to spend, to save the money we want to save, to give the money to charities we want, to go out for dinner, you know, to buy the things we want to buy, to fix up our house, whatever it is, right? And we just sat down, we wrote down all of the numbers. And when we looked at it, we thought, well, that's reasonable. You know what I mean? Because we're not big spenders. We don't live a big life, nothing like that. But we go, that's reasonable. So why wouldn't we choose, okay, to live that life every single year? So what we did is we took that number and then we budgeted everything below. We said, here's how much we spend on this. Here's how much we spend on this. Here's how much we spend. So I have a clothing budget. She has a clothing budget. We have a holiday budget. We have an entertainment budget, right? We have a grocery budget. We have a budget for everything. But it is what I call the perfect year, which is so cool, right? How much are we saving? How much are we giving to charity? And then what we do is we meet once a month and we just go down and we compare. There's what our budget is. Okay, where are we compared to the month? You know, if we're 6 months in, we should be at 50%. But it gives us freedom because, quite honestly, we can now go out and spend money freely because it's in the budget. We don't be thinking to ourselves, oh, we shouldn't be spending that money. No, it's in the budget. We decided that's where we're going to spend our money. Well, a business is exactly the same thing. See, Dave Ramsey, most of you probably know Dave Ramsey, he said the budget is the single most important wealth building tool. The single most important wealth building tool. Now, if you look in your workbook, you're going to see that we put in a budget for you. And that just gives you an example. I'm not going to go through it all, but it gives you an example of what a budget would look like. So what you want to do is you want to sit down in your business and in your personal life and decide where you're going to spend all of your money. So what is your goal? And then how are you going to achieve that goal? And that's what your budget is for. And then how much you're going to net. What is a good net for a single agent? Anywhere between 65 and 75%. Now, this is after brokerage fees. When I say your gross income is after your brokerage fees, because you've got a relationship with your broker, which is great. So don't put that in there, okay? It's what you net after that number. Now, if you're a team, what should you net? At least 50%. Now, many teams aren't, but our goal as a coaching company is to get them to 50%. Our goal for single agents is try to get them up as close to 75% as we possibly can. If you're above that, you're doing incredibly well. But don't think a budget is going to restrict you. A budget is going to free you. So you can download the budget template on the website, and then you can start to create your own budget. Okay, and component number 3, we got to identify the strategies to achieve your annual income goal. So here's an example. Let's say that what you want to do is you're going to increase your income by 26%, which is great. But then the question is, how are you going to do that? So maybe one strategy is to increase your repeat and referral or your lifetime referral system results by 20%, right? And then, of course, the action is, what are we going to do, which we'll talk about in just a moment. Maybe strategy number 2 is you want to increase and improve your online presence. And then some things we're going to do under that, we're going to launch a website. Maybe we're going to build a great business page. Now, you only want to have about 3 to 5 strategies you're working on at a time. I find people they're trying to do too much too fast. Now, if you look in your workbook, we've given you a few strategies in there that you might want to consider. So identify 3 to 5 strategies that are going to help you get from where you are to where you want to go. And step number 4, or I should say component number 4, is you need to have a step-by-step action plan, okay? So the strategy is I want to increase my lifetime referral system to 20%. Great, there's your strategy. But then you got to list all the things underneath that, okay? All the little actions you got to take every day to make it come true. So if you had 3 different strategies all laid out, then what you're going to do is say, okay, here's what I need to do. I need to do this, this, this. And they could be small little actions. And then what you're going to do is beside each action, you put a timeline. That's when you're going to do it, because we don't want to do it all in one day. This can happen over 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. And then you put a DRP, that's designated response person. So who's in charge of that? Maybe you're in charge of that. You know, maybe you're working with your partner and they're in charge of that. Maybe you have an assistant and they're going to be in charge of that. And then you draft this whole list, okay? It's just like this action path of what it is you need to do every day to keep moving in the direction of your dreams and your goals. Now, again, you're going to see some examples in your workbook, but you can also go online and you can download the action plan, and you now get to create your own action plan. Component number 5, we call it scorecards, or it's sort of tracking what it is you do. Now, accounting is not a scorecard, it is a report card. Big difference between a scorecard and a report card. So an example is when you get your taxes done and you look at all those numbers, that is a report card. What that does, that shows you how you've already done. But the problem, the horse is already out of the barn. There's nothing you can do to change that. Would you all agree? But a scorecard is something that you're doing on a regular basis so you can make changes. So let's say you're a golfer. You're a golfer, and of course you get to the first hole, maybe it's a par 4 and you get a 5, okay? Is that a scorecard or report card? That's a scorecard, because now you know what you have to do in the next 17 holes to hit your goal at whatever score that you want to have. Now, once the round is over and you look at your total score, is that a scorecard or a report card? That is a report card, because nothing we can do now to change it. So a scorecard allows you to make changes along the way. And you want to incorporate a tracker or a scorecard into your weekly reporting. So an example of that might be, what would you track every week? So maybe Friday at the end of the week, you sit down and how many contacts did you make? So if you did an open house, how many people did you meet there? How many people did you phone? How many people did you call in your lifetime referral system? Okay, this all goes in your scorecard. How many leads did you get? How many appointments did you go on? Listing appointments, buyer appointments, right? How many contracts were signed? Did you sign some buyer agreements, some listing agreements, right? And how many sales did you do? And imagine if you track that every single week. You know where you are. And look at this. Each month is worth 8.3% of the year. So when I'm at the end of January as an example, that means I'm 8.3% of the year. So if my goal was, okay, to do X number of contacts, X number of appointments, X number of leads coming in, then I know exactly where I stand. See, that's a scorecard. So if I'm only at 7% of goal in a certain area, I'm at 8.3% of the year, then what do I need to do to get back on track? See, this is the power of scorecarding. And also, every month you should be sitting down and say, hey, what percentage of my listings am I converting, listing appointments converting to listings? What percentage of my listings are selling? And we can go on and on about the efficiencies we've already discussed. So what I want you to do is you can go now online, and what you can do is you can actually download this scorecarding system, and then at the end of every week, just start popping in the numbers. It will populate everything for you, and you're going to know exactly where you stand. So where are we? Well, we've talked about the single most important metric you need to track. We've also taken through the 5 steps, okay, to your planning. Now what I want to do, probably the most important part, is talk about the 5 steps to financial freedom. Now, I think you would agree with this. You're an entrepreneur. Would you agree? And I read this great definition that this gentleman had. I can't remember his name, of an entrepreneur. And he said he is somebody that's a bearer of risk. And you're a bearer of risk. However, the challenge is, being an entrepreneur, what sort of retirement plan do you have? What sort of pension plan do you have? What sort of benefits do you have from your company? You don't really have any. So it's totally up to you. And what's disappointing in one of the richest society in the world, how many people actually retire that are still dependent on other people to help them financially? Literally, they can't live off the amount of money that their money makes, okay? So they maybe got to start spending old money, but they can't live off the amount of money they're making from their money. And we live in like the richest society in the world. So what I want to do is I want to take you through 5 steps that I think you're going to find tremendously valuable. So step number 1, you need to set up 5 accounts at your bank, okay, your financial institution. Now, 5 accounts, you're going, just a minute, Rich, I can't even manage one. I get it, but here's what you got to do. You've got to have a business account. You've got to have a personal account. You've got to have a tax account if your company's not sending taxes in. You've got to have your financial freedom account, and then you want your charity account. So you're going to set up 5 accounts. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to establish 5 different accounts. Then what we're going to do, step number 2, then we have to decide how are we going to distribute the money into these different accounts. So you look at it and you say, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave 50 in my business account, and then I'm going to put 50 into my personal account, but then from my personal account, I've got to distribute some of that into my tax account, my freedom account, and my charity account. Now, that's if you're not incorporated. If you're incorporated, obviously, it would be a little bit different because you're going to have to pay some business taxes as well. So what you got to decide is automatically, every time you get a check, you got to start to create a plan. Now, here's the deal. A lot of people, they do it exactly the opposite, right? So what they do is they go to work every day, they work their butts off, they get a paycheck, and then what they do is they decide where all their money is going to go. Now, the interesting thing I find about that is very seldom do they pay themselves first. So what they do is they take all of their money. Oh, I got to send some there, 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 and got to send some there. And by that time they send out their money, how much do they have left? How much do they have left for charity? How much do they have left for savings? And in some cases, how much do they have left for their own entertainment? In a lot of cases, not enough. Why? Because they have a bad plan. So what is the difference between the rich and the poor? Well, the difference between the rich and the poor is the rich invest first and spend the rest. And the poor spend first and then invest what is left. Now, if you spend first, what is left to invest in most cases, right? Big goose egg. Would you all agree with that? Not very much. So what we've got to start to do is say, okay, I need a better plan. And a lot of people say this. They go, well, you want to know something? I'll start to save more when I make more. Bad plan. Because what happens when most people start to make more? What do they start to do? They start to spend more. Because see, the way you manage your finances is a habit. And that habit generally will just continue. So what you want to do is say, okay, I got my 5 accounts set up. And then you got to decide, how much do I need to put into every account? Now you might say, well, I'd like to save 10% in my financial freedom account. Great. But you're saying right now I can't do it. You say, hey, I'd like to give 10% to charity, but right now I just can't do it. I get it. That's okay. Here's the secret to making this plan work, is you've got to put something in every account. So maybe you're going to start with this. Maybe you're going to start with 50% into my business because, remember, I got a budget now. I know how much I need for my business. 50% into my personal account. And then what I'm going to do is take, maybe 25% out of my personal account, put that into my tax account, and I'm going to put 1% into my freedom account and 1% into my charity account because I need the rest to live off of. No problem. You create your own plan. The secret is to put something in every single account. And then as you start to grow, say, well, I want to get it to 2% of my freedom account, 3%, 5%, 10%, 20%, and you work towards your perfect plan. See, the secret is this. The secret is having a plan. And in all fairness, what plan do most people have? Spend everything until it's gone and then try to save what's left, which is generally nothing. Step number 3, you need to follow your plan with every single check. With every single time you get paid, you got to follow your plan. Now, at times, is it going to be tight? Yes. At times, are you going to be strapped? Yes. At times, maybe you can't even pay a bill or something because you're putting some into your freedom plan. Well, guess what? That's okay. You work for the money. Why not pay yourself first? Do you think it's right that you go pay everybody else before you give yourself anything? Makes no sense. If you study the rich, I don't care if you're even the wealthy barber, the richest man in Babylon, read any book you want, and they all say the same thing. The one skill, the one habit that the rich have is they always invest their money first, okay? So 3, always follow your plan. Number 4, educate yourself. Don't just depend on what everybody else is telling you. Like so many people say, oh, I'm just going to get a financial planner, right? And I'm not saying they don't mean well, but what I'm saying is there's a lot of fees that you're paying in there that if you would just educate yourself, you could actually do it yourself. Is there anything more important than you managing your financial future? Anything? Like maybe other than your family, but that's got to be number 2, that you look after your financial future. Well, if you're going to look after your financial future, you need to figure out how to invest your money. And guess what? What business are you in? The real estate business, right? How good is that? Where should you be investing your money? In what it is you know. Never invest anything in anything you don't understand, right? I have made that mistake, and it's costing me a fortune, right? Only invest in what it is you know. And then number 5, review scorecards monthly. And you can use financial software for this, QuickBooks, whatever you want to choose to use, but it is so easy today. And maybe, just maybe, you need to hire a bookkeeper to give you your financial numbers once a month. Now again, I have made so many mistakes in my life when it comes to money, okay? I am like famous for money mistakes, and it's made me a hell of a lot smarter, I can promise you that. But I look and say, my wife and I sit down by about the 10th of every single month, and guess what we review? We review a profit and loss for our business and a profit and loss for our personal life, right? Because we look at, there's our budget. How are we doing? How much money did we make? We go through the whole thing. We review it together because what we measure gets improved, right? See, awareness is the first step in change. When we see we're spending money in areas we shouldn't, we won't do it the next month. Number 2, review a balance sheet, okay? Then number 3, review your net worth. Find out, is your net worth growing? Are your assets growing on a regular basis? Because if you see your net worth growing every month, it's going to be a wonderful feeling. And number 4, always monitor your cash flow for the next 90 days to 6 months. Because you always want to know, am I okay for the next 60 days, 90 days, 6 months, so that you feel comfortable. You don't have to worry. So in other words, take the worry out of this, create a plan, and follow the plan and become financially independent. All right, great job. You've now finished the second last course. Only one to go. Unbelievable. Way to stick with it. Let me give you your action plan. Number one is this: complete the goal setting simplified worksheet and find out how many appointments you need to go on every single week to achieve your annual income goal. And then that's all you focus on all week, is trying to get that many appointments, okay? Number two is this: 15 minutes a day studying your marketplace. 15 minutes a day, obviously, on your social media. You want to keep doing that. Door knocking or open house, same deal. You got to be out there trying to generate new leads on a regular basis. Triple play. This is you're going to be doing the rest of your life if you want to be successful in real estate, with the intention of setting a face-to-face, one of the big five. Continue to grow your database by one advocate every single week. Continue to execute your LRS system, your lifetime referral system. And of course, track your activities, track your results. Okay, complete the quiz, and I'm going to see you in the last course.